Hi, my name is Olga and I'm a tour guide from Ukraine, and on my channel I'm showing you amazing places in Europe, and I'm talking about war in Ukraine because it is difficult for me to be silent. Subscribe and join my weekly live streams to talk to me personally and to see the beauties of the world. Is NATO summit in Vilnius a failure or a security victory for Ukraine? Let me tell you about something that happened today in Vilnius NATO summit and what it means for us. First of all, I would like to begin with my gratitude to all the allies and partners who help us to withstand the pure evil, because this will be our mutual victory. There has been a lot of talk about Ukraine's future and whether we should join NATO or not. NATO made a statement today saying that they will invite Ukraine to join, but only when all the member countries agree and certain conditions are met. To our regret, NATO is not providing its umbrella above Ukraine right now because of fears. These are irrational fears of Russia, and that probably even bigger more might happen. Probably Ukrainians are the only ones who are not afraid of Russia. Let me explain to you why it is so important for us to become a member of NATO as soon as possible. Putin wants to extend the borders of Russia back to the borders of Soviet Union. We actually don't know his fantasies, so probably he wants to restore the borders of the country where it belonged to Catherine II. This explains why other European countries like Poland, Estonia, Lithuania, they feel threatened and they fear that they will be the next target if Russia takes east and south of Ukraine. And NATO is the alliance where European countries join to protect themselves militarily. These are sovereign countries and they decide to join NATO in a sovereign way. So Putin's Russia doesn't like this, but also they cannot do anything about that. And that is when Putin decides to invade Ukraine, to prevent us from eventually joining NATO and the European Union. And Putin's greatest fear is to have a democracy on his border. His greatest fear is to have the democracy in a neighboring country. He's afraid that the Russian people would be inspired and they will have access to this Western style of democratic world, and this definitely would put his absolute power in danger. So now you can understand Putin's motivation in Ukraine. Russia started this full-scale war, and it will keep Ukraine at war to block Ukraine's membership in NATO. But the tragedy is that not being a member costs thousands of lives for Ukraine, because every single day we are attacked, people are tortured, killed. How many more people have to die? 1,000, 1 million, 10 million Ukrainians. Putin doesn't care. Does NATO care? NATO can't stop it because they are the most powerful nations of the planet. Ukraine wants to live in peace, just like the rest of the world. Because the countries who are under NATO's protection, they can enjoy this peace. Russia doesn't attack them, and Ukraine wants the same. So it's quite understandable why we are disappointed that we were not invited today. NATO members see Ukraine as a part of the alliance after the war. The focus now is on helping us defend ourselves, putting an end to the war, and then welcoming us into NATO. It's good, it sounds uplifting, and here again I wanted to mention this phrase again. People are dying, and our soldiers are dying like in awful atrocities. Antony Blinken said that Ukraine cannot be invited to join NATO while the war is on. And Russia has effectively blocked Ukraine's membership in NATO. So the war is waging. NATO can make an exception for Ukraine. I mean, the exception from this rule, the rule of not accepting countries that have border disputes or are in the state of war. Probably NATO doesn't have courage to make such a vital decision right now. But we need a plan to continue our fighting. We need a concise plan to become a NATO member. There are some positive and disappointing points during today's meeting, and I'd like to explain you the disappointment of Ukrainians. Ukraine was not offered what we were waiting for. No invitation to join, no timetable, no member action plan. Stoltenberg said that NATO will consider Ukraine's application when all the members agree and the conditions are met. And Ukraine's path to NATO wasn't simplified today. Instead of membership action plan, the alliance has introduced a new stage, which is called adapted annual national program. Nobody is telling and describing this program, but it's the huge list of tasks, and there are a lot of pages. Actually, they are mirroring the structure of the membership action plan, and in its current form, this document makes it practically impossible for the Ukraine to implement everything. We can only demonstrate the progress in implementation. And the problem lies in the fact that this adapted annual national program is designed for the long term, for this multi-year implementation. And so the claim that member action plan has been just scrapped for Ukraine and we have been put on par with Finland and Sweden, it's not true. People are dying. Ask yourself a question. What would you do if a million people had been killed by a hostile aggressor, or let's say 10 million people? Whatever your answer is, whatever that action would be, we need to do it right now. We don't have to wait until the million Ukrainians are dead. The counteroffensive is ongoing, and it's hard to watch on these pictures from the front. It's hard to understand the price our brave soldiers are paying for their lives and health. These tragedies, they will stay forever. We are literally dying for Europe, for our peace, for the democracy. And our economy has been crushed. Millions of ours are refugees. Millions of ours have been left homeless. We have suffered billions of dollars worth of damage to our civilian infrastructure. Tens of our soldiers are killed and many more, they have been wounded. So when President Zelensky came to the summit today, he had the right, he felt that right that we earned. We earned the respect of the West, we earned the protection of the West. This is why he asked for the concrete steps. And now about some positive and uplifting news. The result of the summit in Vilnius was a success for Ukraine, because we received the important package of the security guarantees for the path to NATO. It is called a security victory. These guarantees from the G7, they will expand to different agreements with our partners. And I would like to mention the most important aspects of our future cooperation. So the support for Ukraine will include the assistance in defense and the prevention of the new aggression. This is important because these missiles are flying every single day, and we want to just not to have new territories conquered. The supply of weapons, the support for the defense industry, for the training of soldiers, for the intelligence and the cybersecurity. And the supporting holding Russia accountable. It's very important because it will include some legal measures. The cost of war is increasing every single day, and Russia has to be punished for all the destruction that they are making. For example, the Kakhovka desert, it appeared after the dam was blown up, and is just one example of the disaster. There is one interesting point that by the 2024, Ukraine aims to achieve victory. It sounds like we have to win, and then another security guarantees will be signed until NATO membership will be gained. So it's complicated. And it's clear that the future of Ukraine is with NATO, and there are different opinions about how we move forward. Let's see what happens and how the story unfolds. Slava Ukraini, and see you next time. Thank you for supporting me, and thank you for buying me coffees.